passing that information in the background while we chat, which is always awesome. Make the most of our time. So, first of all, before I go too deep on rereading these notes and refreshing my memory, did you play SE2 since it came out? How, like 1 year, 2 year, 10 years?
So pretty much since it came out, got started right after the beta. So, and then took a large break here in the past couple of years, and thanks to COVID, um, playing some games again.
Okay, awesome. Sweet as, man. So what's the highest you've ever made it on the ladder? Is this the highest right now?
No. So this was before they had masters. They had like the 3 ranks inside of each rank. But I was top, I don't know, 800-ish, top 1000-ish. Not sure.
Cool. And were you always a Terran player?
Always a Terran player.
All right. Cool. Okay, cool. So TvP is the big focus. Now, you've written out a build order. You're doing a really, really just stock standard mine drop following up with a Liberator, as far as I can tell from glimpsing over that. Let me see. So are you always going up to the 3 barracks after that into like the stim push while taking a third, or?
Yeah, so almost always I take the next 2 racks before taking the 3rd CC.
Okay, cool. All right, that's a very quick engineering bay you've got here. Is that because you thought you were being DT'd or something? Or you build really early turrets.
I scouted a Stargate. So I threw down the engineering bay because I wanted to get the drop across the map. I thought that I needed to get some counter pressure on, and did not have a lot of Marines. So I built the early engineering bay to try and deflect the Oracle.
Where the hell are these? Oh, the Oracles ran in and died, did they? I'm like, wait, where are the Oracles? Oh, they run into the main and die. Okay, that's nice of them. Ooh. Well, that's a nice start. Okay, yeah, so this is a little bit of a different opening, getting those turrets so early. It does slow us down a little bit. So I'm not 100% sure on that. How often do you play against Phoenix openings?
So I, you know what? Normally it's going to be like a very gate heavy opening that I've played against. So I haven't seen a lot of Phoenix opening in a while.
Okay, cool. I mean, as long as you're not seeing Phoenix openings, it's okay to still drop and be aggressive against Stargate to a certain extent. If you're seeing a lot of Phoenix openings, doing what you're doing here is quite dangerous because the drop can just get snapped too easily. The turrets don't really cover your production. So whilst they kind of cover the mineral line, the Phoenix are still going to find pickoffs and they're going to shut down your drop most likely. So it's dangerous if there's Phoenix play comes back in the meta. For now, I think it's okay. Before we look at the details, let's look at the bigger picture. Before I go deep on the details, 8 times. I'm so tempted to look at all the tiny little details, but I'm like, let's contain myself. Game 1, replay, or I should say replay 1. Simulacrum versus Yo-Yo from Clan All In. So we go up there, we do a little drippy drop. Opponent looks like they're quite far ahead of us economically. We do go across with a push, but they've gone straight charge, and we've got 2 tanks and a couple Marines. And at this point, it looks like it's probably game over unless the Protoss shits the bed, which a lot of players shit the bed pretty hard regularly. But we look like we're completely dead at this point. Like, let's see. Yeah.
Completely dead. I have a really hard time gauging my aggression. So I feel like I have to get across the map and do some damage, but it seems like I'm never actually in a position to do that.
You seem quite reflexive with how you play here, in that we're kind of going in quite a few variations. So whilst the very beginning of the opening is very well defined, so these are opening thoughts. We don't actually know how much this will carry through, but it usually has a tendency to be 95% on the money. So opening thoughts is probably too many reactions in our play, and not enough pre-planned timing attacks. So It's very hard to judge how much damage you're doing. Sorry, not how much damage, but when there's a natural strong point to your build, unless it's something you've built into the build order, right? So because you're kind of changing what you're opening is quite differently. If you see Robo, if you see Twilight, or if you see Robo Bay, and then you go to the other Vikings, up against Colossus. So what I feel like here is we probably have too many branches that don't have tight enough convergence points, right?
Okay.
So a convergence point is obviously where, whether we go Raven first, Mind Drop, just build a Cyclone and a Viking and just go straight to 3 barracks and just defend the Oracles with a Cyclone Viking in the main, the Marines in the natural, and then go to the next step. Whichever one of these we choose to do, right? It's when do we get the 3 barracks, the stim, the shields, the +1, 2 medevacs, 2 tanks, and a bunch of mines. That's an example of a convergence point. That push will always go there. And the more defined it is and the more of a default it is, the more it's almost like the thing we go to no matter what. And the other things is just, it's just sometimes we go the Mine Drop, sometimes we go 3 Hellions, and it's an 8 Marine drop in the main, 3 Hellions running the natural, which is my most recent favorite thing on the ladder. Whichever one of those it is, it's like having that convergence point as something that's like really well ironed out and refined. So if we look through your notes and just off the top of your head, what are your most common attack timings? So in terms of like attack timings, you've got obviously Mine Drop, but other than that, do you have preset commitments?
Right. So I often, end up with like 2 or 3 tanks, and I take that across the map to try and do some damage. But other than that, honestly, I don't have a lot of pre-planned timing attacks or my convergence points are all around. My thoughts were all around production rather than hitting an attack or doing some damage, I guess.
That's really important because Terran is so glass cannon in its nature, right? So there's points where you get enough firepower and upgrades all kicking in at once, and there's like a short window where you're at this extreme power spike. But if you give your opponent another minute or two to get up like the splash damage to counter the Marines, or like the charge and the 1-1 or the 2-2 kicks in, right? And suddenly the Zealots are way better. There's like these moments, or if they get another round of warp-ins and they get to set up a flank, suddenly, they can deal with that bio-tank push. So we kind of need to have a lot more details to our attack timings, and we want to be building to them with them in sight minutes ahead of time. They need to be pre-planned. This is something every player should do to make sure they're making plays better. Zerg, Protoss, doesn't matter. But for Terran, it's especially important just because the way our production is not as flexible. We're building in a certain line because we're super high damage, very fragile units that get just fucking destroyed. If like the splash damage hits it the right way, or we don't push at the right time and we let our opponent get up the units to deal with it, we're going to have like massively mixed results. So having these memorized out beforehand is really nice. There's even times where you can be a real dummy with it. You could be like, I don't react to anything the Protoss does. I always do a 2-base, bio-tank, 3 Rex, Marauder Marine, tank all in, medevacs. And if you refine it, you'll have an insane win rate, especially if you set up a really good one, right? Because suddenly you're hitting that timing, you're getting so good, and all you're focused on in the ladder, win or lose, is like, I hit it this at 745. I think I can hit 20 seconds faster if I got supply blocked at that. Let's remember that depot. I can hit 20 seconds faster. Charge wouldn't have been done. Would have been able to siege up in range of the natural and then win the game. Like you're looking at those, like you're really kind of putting blinders on and simplifying the game. So that's always an option is, preset all-ins are definitely a thing we can do. But it can also just be things like, as late as like range lib, we hit 7 range libs with our biomine or something. Like that's obviously a very late game attack timing, but it's something that's very powerful if we beeline in that direction once we hit 3 bases.
So it sounds like what I really need is just some benchmarks that are based on timing attacks, so that then I can sort of read the game state. Like, he opened Oracle, that sent me back 20 seconds, but that sent him back 20 seconds. So
yeah,
okay.
And then you've got like a moving scale. I'm a little ahead on economy this game, but like I did lose a lot of units. So I'm behind on army, so I'm going to be more defensive. And rather than hit with 2 tanks, I'm going to wait for a 3rd tank and another 2 rounds of bio to get out, and then we're going to go for the push. Like you can make these little tweaks and adjustments or whatever, or you can drastically shift your style based on the situation a little bit better. So that's definitely going to be that. Let's So that's opening thoughts on just what I've seen so far. I haven't seen enough of your play for that to be comprehensive, but let's go look at the basics now, because there's always information there, right? So right at the start, we build an SCV. We should be rallying that to build the depot. Yes, we do. Change the rally point back. Depot goes down. All right. We're not doubling our workers, so that's definitely a thing we could do. So in terms of basics, fundamentals, build order, etc., we're just going to write a whole bunch of notes. They're not going to be that organized here, but doubling up workers is always nice. Do you know how to double up workers? Do you understand it?
So just on the mineral patches that are closer to the command center, just make sure that there's 2 on each patch, right?
Yeah, and also if there's 3 on one of the other patches, take one of them off. Because sometimes you'll get unlucky at the start. There'll be like these 2 middle far away patches will just have 3 SCVs on each one. And you've got other patches with only 1 SCV, and that's super inefficient. So doubling up workers at the start, don't let 3 sit on any patches, and double up on the closer patches. This is not super important. It's just a nice thing to do at the start that'll give you more consistency. I've seen players where I'm like, why is your build always slow? And they never do that. And then I look at it and I'm like, oh, this game, you had 3 patches that had 3 workers tripled up on them, and you had 3 patches with only 1 SCV. I'm like, your income for the first 2 minutes was shit because of this thing, which won't happen that often, but it's just like, why have that variability? Even when you're not unlucky with it, you're still going to get 40 minerals or something, like 30, 40 minerals from doubling it up. You got nothing else to do at the start. It's a good little thing to work on. Other than that, let's look at how we handled this. Did we put down the barracks the second that depot finished? Let's take a glance. How tight were we on this? We had the extra SCV queued up. Barracks goes down. Where's that refinery? Refinery could have been half a second quicker. No biggie. It's fine. So there are tiny tidbits like queuing the SCV on the refinery to make sure it mines from the correct side of the refinery. That is super minute. I'm not even going to write that down. I think it's pretty unimportant. Something I've started doing, thanks to Scarlett for pointing that out, where she was just going in on how your Reaper can be delayed. See how your SCV popped out on the backside of that gas there?
Right, because he built it on that side of the gas?
Yeah, so then he goes into the gas that side and then pops out there, where if you make him run to the inside of the command center, then hop in, and you already have the other 2 start mining first as soon as it finishes, and then he ends up being the 3rd one on the gas. It just optimizes your gas to make sure your Reaper can start straight away, because we want that Reaper to pop out immediately. Now, you did a good shuffle with that. If you were slightly slower to react, I would have hoped you pull a second SCV very quickly, right? To make sure you don't lose any build time on the barracks. But that was a good shuffle. That was nicely done. Now you scout, you see a nice quick nexus into a cybercore, very standard opening. Are you looking, do you pay attention to if it's cybercore first or nexus first?
Yeah, thanks to playing with Yo-Yo, I've started paying more attention to that, because if he goes cybercore first, he runs an adept across the map and it delays my CC. So it just kind of affects my bunker timing. Is there anything else I should be looking for?
No, that's about it. I mean, some people like to do things like build an extra Marine, leave the Reaper at home, and just go Reaper 2 Marines and an SCV and fight it. I fucking hate that. I would much rather send the Reaper into their mineral line, kill a probe or 2, and hopefully pull them back and just get the bunker quicker. So that's good. Right. You're already scouting for that. I'm very comfortable with that. You're going straight Marine. Yeah, you're going to go straight for the factory. So factory should be further back than that. Now, the reason for that is we don't want to give him free scouting info. You could be doing a 3-Rex build. Now, it's really nice to just build the factory right up next to the command center. So then if he runs up with a probe or an adept, he's just not sure what you're doing as the follow-up. So it's just nice to keep them guessing.
Yeah, in a few games, he also blinks some stalkers into my main, and because of my building placement, it really ruins the game for my defense. But no reason to be that greedy. Sure.
Yeah, so just hide the information there. Factory further back next to the CC to deny info. Second gas went down pretty quickly after. Reaper got a scout. Didn't see the Stargate. That's okay. Keep it alive, which is the important thing. That reactor looks a little delayed. Let's take a glance. I'm not sure if it was or wasn't. Marines almost instant. Only a few seconds. It's nothing to write home about. Missed a tiny bit of SCV production there. Not the end of the world. 2 guys on gas. Queuing up SCVs. We haven't lowered the other depot. That always triggers me. It's a pet peeve. Doesn't really matter since you've got the important depot lowered in this scenario. If it was the depot that you've got lowered that was raised, I would be tearing my eyes out right now. So I see people do that for like the first 5 minutes of the game, and I'm like, every SCV has to rally around. You can't move around your own base. It really doesn't matter that much, though. Very low priority. Great Reaper Scout. That was awesome. So you saw what was going on. Now you're going to do that reaction. You are building SCVs. So that's such a fast engineering bay. Wow. And he goes third Nexus. Oh, okay, cool. All right, we're going to give you some very specific coaching on how to beat him. So he's doing what we call being a fucker. Versus a Protoss who is a fucker, we need a better way to punish them. I was wondering why he was so far ahead. He's gone 1 gate third Nexus at 3 minutes 40. Dirty yo-yo. So we're going to teach you how to punish that. This is old school. Really cool move by him. Most Terrans won't punish this. So there's a few things that are going on in TvP right now in the meta that we want to talk about. So you are still there, by the way, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. Sorry. We need a better way to punish, etc. So here's a cool thing. In the meta, if you play him a lot, or if you play Protestants who do this, and this is not a bad way to play, you might actually catch a lot of people. So we're going to talk about an old school branch. This is the 2017 push to punish specifically this level of insane greed, which you will never see at pro play anymore because it gets punished too hard. So this is third Nexus. Basically, the standard response is better for a hard punish here. So the standard response to Stargate at the moment is Tech Lab Cyclone. So basically what you want to do is you want to put out a mine to try and intercept the oracles / catch them, or to cover a mineral line if you want to be safer. So you go Widow Mine first, then you go Tech Lab straight into Cyclone. 2 Cyclones even if you want, or a Cyclone and tank. And then you get a 2 times Vikings out of the starport immediately as well. So obviously a lot of people will do this where they'll just get 1 Cyclone, 1 Viking, and go straight second and third barracks. So the straight to 3 racks transition equals just 1 Cyclone and Viking, cover main, Marines cover natural, and depots behind mineral line, so they're not exposed, right? So they can't pick off your working depots. And with that one, you go straight 3 racks, stim +1, shields, medevac, mine, timing attack, or tank. We could do tank depending on your preference. Timing attack, and we build our third CC on location behind the push, right? And the idea behind that is you're doing 0 pressure in the early game, but you're just going straight up to that 3 racks timing as sharp as possible with like very perfect, easy defense, right? Put a Widow Mine out. Like for me, I'd probably usually put it either here or here. Can you see those signals?
Right. So I'm trying to catch the Oracle in the middle of the map?
Yeah, either pulling back after a wave or when it's first running across to one of your bases. And if you're worried about a very quick Oracle, like I said, you can leave it in your main base first, covering that mineral line, behind the radar dish or in the pocket of the minerals, right? Hidden somewhere while your Marines cover your natural.
Here or at the edge of the base.
Yeah. And right above the middle of the gas is a perfect spot, right above the middle of the command center, under the radar dish. That's where they get kind of hidden by the perspective as they come in. They won't be able to see the mark until the actual tracking line from the Widow Mine appears, which means they need very quick reactions. With that version, that's to punish a more standard kind of just Stargate opening, because people who go Stargate, especially go multiple Oracles or Phoenix, they're Robo, they're Twilight, they're Forge, all super delayed. So whether it be Colossus, whether it be Charge, whatever their answer is to your push, that comes out a lot later, okay? So you're just kind of like, I'm not even going to try to Widow Mine drop because he's got Stargate units. Like, we're not even going to try to do anything because Phoenix or Oracles could just gun them down. We're just going to just build SCVs, just get the 3 barracks, get the stims started, the shields started, Marines, Marauders, Medevacs, Mines, let's go. So that's the more standard thing. You'll actually see that quite commonly at pro play right now, as an answer to them scouting an early Stargate. In this case, though, we're going to talk about the 2017 push, which is like I said, a Cyclone into a Cyclone or a tank, 2 Vikings, non-stop Marines, and then you bring 3 SCVs, you mine everything, and push them. So basically, this is specifically to counter that, who is a greedy boy. So greedy boy, 3rd Nexus before gates is what we're calling that. So
like, roughly what time is that supposed to hit?
As soon as your 2nd factory and starport unit are almost rallying out. So they're not even finished when you're moving across the map. So you're moving across with like 8 Marines, a mine, and like a Cyclone and a Viking. So you'd be moving out at like 4:45 or something like that, I believe, depending on how tight you are. Because if we look at this, right, if we go straight into Cyclone, that could already be started. Yeah, just before 5 minutes. You want to hit about 5:30. So that's about a 5:30 push, and you basically build 2 bunkers at the 3rd and set up a BS position. Now, you do need to be wary. If they Oracle dive, you will lose many SCVs because you're going across the map, right?
Right.
But your rallying Marines and Viking Cyclone will usually be popping and can deal with it, right? Without crazy damage. And you will kill their 3rd. And you will kill their 3rd base. And potentially you can even pivot. You can also just go for the natural. If oracles are diving, they can't defend. Go for the win, right? Go for the natural probe line, basically.
Right. So, I mean, what I'd imagine is that the best thing for the Protoss in that case is to use the oracles to just cut off reinforcing Marines.
Yeah, that's the best thing they can do. It's really hard for them to micro, though, because you're rallying Cyclones and Vikings, and you've already got a Cyclone out. So there's a good chance they get caught by a Cyclone or a Viking and get shot down. And because they don't have any gateway units, they've got nothing on the front, like I said. So if they lose an Oracle or 2, everything falls apart, right? The whole thing is they can kind of overwhelm 8 Marines and a Widowmine and a Cyclone with Oracles, right? But 1 Widowmine hit and, an Oracle's dead. 2 are deep in the orange. A Cyclone lock on and a Viking shot or 2 before the fight properly starts, and there's already an Oracle, 2 Oracles in the orange, right? Like, they're and if you look at what your opponent's got, 2 Adepts, a Stalker, a Gateway. And yes, there's more Gateways coming in, but they're not going to be ready till really late. So by that time, your bunker's already finished. By the time they warp in off these gateways. And that 3rd is dead.
Okay.
So that's an old push we saw a lot of TY doing in 2017. And since then, there's been like forced respect at the pro level where it's like, no, you always take extra gateways much quicker unless you're going for a super fast robo and chronoing out like a Colossus or an Immortal behind the Stargate. But almost always it's just at least a 2nd gateway, and non-stop gateway production goes down to help defend that. So this is very specific, and like I said, it's not something which we see very often because a lot of Protoss players won't rush the 3rd this early. But I just wanted to, I wanted to bring that little piece of history because like I played someone the other week who went a 3-minute 3rd into double forge on 1 gate, and I was like, what the fuck is this? It's the greediest shit ever. But if you give him a few minutes, oh my god, that's going to get out of control, right?
Right.
So it's kind of the same here, where like this Marine mine drop doesn't do anything. Is our problem?
Right.
So this is my bigger problem in the meta with people trying to mine drop right now. So the problem with a mine drop, it's kind of like going Oracle against a Zerg. You're not going to beat a Queen with an Oracle. Unless you got insane micro, you're capped out at a couple worker kills. Same thing with like a mine drop. Unless they like just don't notice it, it's not really paired up with anything else. And that was also hitting quite late. So this is the reason I've started doing Hellion pressure. Because if I get Hellions in, I will just win the game. Rather than doing the mine drop opening, this is something you might want to consider depending on how your openings are going. If you're often ending up in a situation like here, you're dead in this game.
Right.
There's nothing you can do here. Yeah, you've got 3 barracks, you got some upgrades, but I mean, he's at way more production than you. 8 gateways finished, charge is finished. There's no way you can break him, and he's got such a big economy, you're dead. So if you find yourself looking at replays that look anything like this, definitely changing up the opening may be something we want to look at as well. So where can I write that here in these notes? Mine drop. So I'm going to Instead of Mine Drop, I'm a huge fan of Reaper plus 3 Hellions running into natural at same time as 8 Marines hit the main.
So just a medevac full of Marines drops in the main?
Yep. Because that creates a big problem, and then the Hellions can try to run in the natural. If they got a wall, try to bounce the unit out of it if your Reaper's still alive. And you could always technically rotate that as well, where you do the Hellion drop in the main and then the Marines are a distraction at the natural. There's lots of ways you can always rotate your pressure. So the funny thing in this game is he threw his oracles away but was very greedy behind it, and because we had no pointed pressure, we weren't able to do much. Now, what time did your factory start? Because it felt like your drop was really late this game. So factory was about 2:15. I think that could have started earlier, right? Let's take a look. Okay, yeah, we got the gas here, but because we build a bunker first, maybe? No, we do get it down. We're just prioritizing SCV production. Second depot's already down, which it needs to be. It's weird. Oh, you did chase I guess the probe wasted a bit of your mining time, right? We chased it quite far.
Right.
So little tidbit with that. The one who's chasing the probe can always be the one that builds the depot. Because by the time you chase him off and throw your command center down, he has to pull back. You can go build the depot now.
Right.
Because if he goes back and attacks it, the Reaper gets the kill, which is bad for him.
Sure.
So he has to pull back. Obviously, if he comes back in, it forces you to maybe juggle your SCV off the command center for a few seconds, but that's a bad trade for him. You should be fine with that. So yeah.
Okay.
So
don't chase out of the natural, basically.
Yeah. And if you do that immediately with that SCV, which you could have done a bit earlier, that means this SCV stays mining, gives you a few more minerals. And depending on how things line up, sometimes you can use the depot SCV to build the factory. I usually end up using a separate one anyway. But yeah, just a couple minerals there, plus doubling up your workers at the start would have given you that factory. Because look at your mineral line in the main right now. Let's take a glance. Yeah, we don't really have them doubled up on these bottom patches. You don't have any tripled up patches where they're mining terribly inefficiently, which is good. But those little bits of minerals,
on the close ones.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so that actually would have given you a faster factory. But now what I'm looking for, and you should always check this in your builds, when the factory finishes, how quickly does the starport go down? So we're just watching downtime right now, right? We're on 2 times speed. That's a lot of downtime. So that's pretty big. So remember, the factory is a few seconds delayed because we didn't have the minerals, but then that also gets exacerbated there. So SCV defending CC. SCV also builds depot. If you do it early enough, can sometimes build factory. Now, factory SCV should always be queued to build starport. Now, that's a very small thing. The reason I bring it up here is just because it wasn't queued down, so it kind of sat in this position where it's very easy to not notice that SCV there, since it's hidden behind the factory. And I just like it to already be queued to where the starport's going to go, because now even when you realize, oh shit, build stuff on the factory, build a starport, it's got to just travel a few extra seconds. Minor details, sure. But just plan it ahead of time, right?
Just queue it to the right place. Sure.
Just shaving off a few seconds. So now we're checking when the starport finishes, how much downtime till the medevac starts. And you're never perfect on this stuff, but it's good to be aware of it. So that was pretty quick that time, but we also see your starport SCV wasn't queued anywhere. So this is another big one. Starport SCV should always be queued to become your depot builder. Do you know what a depot builder is?
Do you hotkey your depot builder?
I don't, but it never goes back to minerals, though. It basically builds depots for the rest of the game, unless we obviously have a crazy trade where we've got 50 free supply, in which case, we don't need to build depots for a while. But in most situations, from 38, 40 supply onwards, which is when your starport should finish, yours is late this game, which is why you're at 42. It times out perfectly to start your first depot after the command center. And then if you keep building them nonstop from there, and then you'll actually add a friend. So you're building 2 at a time from once your 3 barracks production starts constantly queuing up.
Pretty much continuous. Okay. And I mean, these depots, should they be spotting depots? Should they be next to the mineral line, or should they like? I mean, I hate charge lots. Should I be walling off or?
Normally, yeah, you should wall off, but not here because it's a Stargate opening. So that would expose your SCVs and buildings. Like a Stalker could run up and just kill 2 SCVs building depots and fuck with your build, right? An Oracle could come up and pick them off. So maybe your first 2 depots might be behind your main, and then you'll go for the wall off. Because at that point, you've got Cyclones and Vikings out and stuff, right? In any other situation, go for the wall off. Technically, it's not useful against like Colossus, Stalker, Sentry, right? Because they're actually the longer range army than you. But against Charge Lots, Adepts, lots of other fuckery, Charge Lot Archon, the wall's going to help you. Same as against Zerg, right? And this tip, this applies to all matchups. If you're doing any 1-1-1 like this, it's Starport SCV starts building depots. So that's why this is an important point, because you can apply this to all matchups. And it's going to make sure you eradicate the 46 supply block, because this is the absolute hatred of all of us as Terran. It's the 36 supply block for Zerg, 44 for Protoss, 46 for Terran. These are our numbers. And we're going to hit it this game. Yep.
There it is.
Yep. Just like clockwork. It's our favorite. So that's actually such a good little habit for that early game. But that would have sped up the medevac here, right? So I was looking at this, I was like, this mine marine drop, generally, what's a good benchmark? So going to your attack timings notation here in the document, we've got mine drop or any other drop for that matter. We would want to try to hit by 445. If you're a pro gamer, you could be doing a mine drop 2 or 3 mines like 432 or some shit, or 428 off a barracks gas. We're mere mortals. Let's aim for 4 minutes 45. Obviously, map size matters a little bit as well. But if we look at your drop this game, we can see... Oh,
it's
shit.
so delayed.
Yeah,
so delayed.
5:30 or something. So it's this point where it's like your opponent's just exploded to this point of economy where they don't give a shit. You're like,
right.
This is why I was talking about the Hellions, because I was like, you need to get in there and kill 25 probes right now just to put a dent in Yo-Yo's greediness.
Right.
This is obscene. You know, it's 5:30. There's 3 Stalkers and 2 Adepts on the map. Naughty boy Yo-Yo. Yeah. So this is pretty cool. I definitely think something that can do some more is good. I really like the recent build, which Uthermal actually just put a guide up on, where it's mine drop, then a liberator, and then it's the just marine tank bunker push. So you bunker push the 3rd while the mine drop threatens the natural and the lib threatens the main. So if they bring everything to the front to fuck up your marine tank moving across the map, it's like, okay, mine drop the natural, lib siege is the main, and you kind of just pull back with your main army. But if they actually respect those 2 prongs and leave Stalkers there, you can just waltz across the map. Even if they've got a few Stalkers, they don't have enough to stop you. And then you just start building bunkers at their 3rd. We saw like Goblin could not stop this push. I think Uthermal did it 3 times in a row to him after Goblin won game 1 in their finals in EPT recently. We saw Stats got bopped by, I don't know if it was TY or Cure the other day in GSL did the same build, but that's a cool one we can look at. But that's a very different style of TvP, because that's 3rd command center afterwards, and it's like we're really going to the late game after that push because our stim shields are massively delayed. So that's a whole bunch of theory and options that we can go for.
Research complete.
In terms
I'll
of
make
generics,
a note to just look up Uthermal's build after this.
Yeah, I mean, someone can link it in chat. Someone linked it earlier. I don't know. Actually, I'll find it right now. I can share it in chat. Uthermal's Terran School? YouTube, TvP. Terran School #1. Let me link that to you. So that's an option. Just an option. So, escalating and finding bigger damage versus greedy boys. Like I said, I'm a big fan of just swapping the mines out for Hellions, and it's the exact same build order essentially. It changes almost nothing. But you can also check out Uthermal's build if you want. Uthermal's build guide for a much more aggressive into 3cc build. I would say it's hard to execute though, because it's very easy to just lose your mine drop and your lib and then lose the power of that push.
Right. With the Hellions, what I see a lot of Protoss is doing is like walling off their natural with like it's either like two gates, they're cyber core and a stalker or something. Which just kind of like it. What do you do with the Hellions in that instance?
So ideally, you've been blocking their third with a Hellion. So if you do choose to go for that option, okay. So let's make our own new little heading here. Escalating and finding bigger damage to really make sure we're doing stuff. So if you're doing that sort of thing, a cool thing that you can do, basically,
supposed to like bounce the stalker out of the wall or something.
Yeah, well, your Hellion and Reaper can block the third. So if you're hitting a tight timing, they don't have their third down. If your Reaper's survived, so you can bounce them out of the wall, but otherwise, they have to come down to defend their third. So you've only shown one Hellion, or just your Reaper, and the drop hits the main, and most people will just F2 and defend. So this is not a reacted Hellion build. This is not as committed. This is the exact same opening. You just build Hellions one at a time out of your factory instead of the mines, and you just Marine drop hits the main, and then the Hellions run in, which you've hidden to that point, ideally. And the thing is, for the Protoss, they're like, fuck, I need to get my third up. And at the same time, they're, oh, fuck, I need to defend my main. It's very easy for them to not have the natural walled off, even if they've built the wall off. They'll usually pull the unit either to the third or the main. It's also something where if it's just an adept, you can just kill it really quickly with the 3 Hellions and then still get in. So they've actually got to be very well prepared. So if you hit that at a sharp moment, it's going to be much more reliable than the mine drop, in my opinion. The other way, Hellion Reaper block the third to bait them out. Reaper grenade, like we said, to bounce them out of the wall. What's another option? So if we do mine drop, send 8 Marines across to attack the natural as a distraction while the mine drop hits the main. Basically, never do something in just one place at once. And if they focus on the Marines, run them home, even though they're slow. And if they focus on the mines, get right into the natural mineral line. Get in the natural and focus probes with Marines. So that's also something which does big damage. So too many Terran players I've watched recently, and I fell into it myself for a while, are just trying to go, here's a 2 mine drop. Doop-de-doop, go across. They spread their probes out. They lose 2 or 3 probes. They go back to mining. And it's very chill. And it's also the thing every Protoss player has about 5,000 repetitions of practice against in the last few months. So it's like literally just making life easy for our opponent, which goes against everything that we should have as our focus as a Terran player. Our focus as a Terran should always be to make our opponent uncomfortable. And this is why if you actually play off meta, you'll usually do infinitely better than the Terrans who try to copy a Big Gabe build. As much as there's great solid fundamentals to learn from Big Gabe and those macro Terrans, it's just something where usually your opponent has a lot of repetitions against that style of Terran play.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so we've talked about 1,000 different options here in terms of escalating your early aggression. We've talked about little details to make sure whatever your aggression is, it just hits hard and fast. Right now, in terms of actual learning, this is all vague. This is all not useful for this game and this replay. If we were to play Yo-Yo again, Yo-Yo's doing the exact same opening. What do you want to do? Are you going to go for... And this is not a choice to beat Yo-Yo. This is a choice of what do you want to practice and make your standard against Stargate. Do we want to just go straight up to the 3 racks defensively with just a Cyclone and a Viking to booster our defense? Get rid of that Engineering Bay and turret? Because I really want to get rid of that because it's just too static. It costs too much money.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's either that one or it's the fast bunker push where we build a few more tech units and delay our 2nd and 3rd barracks a bit. Which one of those appeals to you as a fun style against Stargate?
I think I prefer the 3 barracks faster. Get the Cyclone, get the Viking.
Cool. Do you want to go tanks or mines with your push, with your stim and stuff? Are you rallying mines or tanks to join that?
Rallying tanks, for sure.
Okay, cool. So you would choose tanks. No worries. All right, so that can be your standard versus Stargate now, which I think will give you a real nice way of doing that. So... Yeah. So if you look in your notes, we've got versus Stargate. Now, obviously, we've got the... We're going to take that bit. So what we're going to do is first Stargate, we got a little thing here, which is... All right, do you see that subheading now? So that's kind of the thing you want to work on. All right, cool. So we commit hard to the 3Rex. Other than that, you need to define your pushes more. So we're already talking about pre-planning them, but I've written like 3Rex, stim, shields, etc. This army here is super random that you've got, and it's not lining up. So having it defined ahead of time is going to be good. Try to choose something that makes sense for you. So a lot of people, it's the upgrades finishing. Some people say, no, I like to go with 3 tanks. That's my count. Or I go with 2 and the third one's halfway finished, so it'll arrive during the fighting. Some people like to wait for like a certain amount of Marine Marauder with at least 2 medevacs. Just make sure you choose whatever your pieces are that you want, whatever you choose as your strong point to the push. So what sort of like thing with your 3Rex bio push? What are the details that make you comfortable to go out and fuck up the Protoss?
It's always been medevacs coming out. That makes me feel comfortable on the map. But it sounds like probably the 3rd tank is where I'm gonna have a huge power spike. And
I think medevacs is fine actually. Like in this game, you're not actually building bio right now, but it's like honestly, most situations, it's just the raw amount of bio is the most important thing. The other stuff is nice, but it's actually just constantly building Marine Marauder and having enough of it. The reason this push looks so bad is just there's just no bio here. So this just gets killed by any number of units, right? The tanks on their own aren't good until they get a lot of bio support. The tanks working with a big enough pack of bio that they both are like force multipliers on each other, right? They both mesh to become much more powerful. But if you choose 3 tanks, that's fine. Just make sure you're benchmarking when you go for a push. So when you go for a push, freeze the replay at the moment you like siege up at their base or something. So like in this case, I'd be like, all right, 724. And I'd look at the units tab and say, okay, we have 2 medevacs, 3 tanks, 7 Marine Marauders, 11 Marines. We have stim and shields. +1 is 30 seconds from finishing. We're at 84 out of 117 supply. 3rd CC is finished. 4th and 5th barracks are on the way. 4 gases. I would write all that down as my benchmark so that I could compare it to the next game. And if you get the habit of every time you lose against a Protoss, rewind and just benchmark the most important or even the 2 or 3 most important timing attacks that you do in the game and just check what you have. And that way you can track your progress. So sometimes your opponent gets away with Mega Greed, crushes you, even though you played really well. This way you're tracking your own execution of your build and you can go, hey, the goalpost isn't me beating the Protoss player. Who gives a shit about that? Let's just focus on playing better for now. Getting really expert at doing a push. And once that becomes second nature to us, we've got this like thing we're an expert at, then we can start looking at, oh, this guy got away with really fast so-and-so. I needed to do more damage with my drop, but I didn't micro it properly. You know, you can focus more on the interactive details. But this is going to be really good because it's going to get you focused internally on shit that is completely out of your opponent's control and completely in your control. Outside of DTs killing you before you get there.
Sure. Okay.
Cool. So that's going to be kind of your main goal, I guess, is really define those timings and do it for every matchup. That's like a secret of improving our Protoss players. Like, all right, I'm doing this and this. When is it strong, and when would I like to fight my opponent? Because if we don't try to fight them at the right times, yeah, it's just harder to play Terran unless we're building planetaries and ghosts and battlecruisers and stuff like that, which is a very different and, in my mind, a bit of a boring way of playing Terran. But for a bio player, someone who's doing some real standard stuff, it's going to be a bit different for you. So this game doesn't matter at this point. Let's hop out and let's take a little look-see. So if we can hop in a game, it would be cool. I think we've already flooded you with so much information for a first session. Thank you. I'll make Nightshade, because why not? And I will give Muffin Man... Jesus Christ, Muffin Man. Who puts their social settings on? Yo. You can't receive messages. I feel like you miss out on half of the joy of ladder if you don't let people call you mean things.
If you're social distancing a little too hard.
You gotta get the joy. If you've made your opponent really sad, that's like the greatest joy in StarCraft. You've hurt them.
It's when they say mean things after they lose. That's when you really know.
Yeah. You just need subtitles in your brain, right? They say go kill yourself. It means your APM is better than mine. Your micro is better than mine. They're like, fuck you. You're a virgin. That's why you're better. They mean your macro is infinitely better than mine, and you beat me due to superior skill. You just need to have your brain trained to translate all the dumb shit they say into like, yeah, I ruined this person's day. This is great. Okay. All right. Are you ready?
Yeah. Let's switch it up and let's go.
All right. I've given the Muffin Man one of our more unique and weird characters on the stream. Likes to talk about a lot of strange videos, but is a good player. All right, he's good to go. Go toss. All right, dude. So I'm going to shut the hell up and just let you play. We just talked about 1,000 things.
Okay.
So all I care about is your ability to put blinders on right now. I don't want you to try and do everything we just talked about. We just talked about many different builds, many different situations. That doesn't relate to the game you're about to play. I am telling him to do a Stargate opening. I'm going to give you that heads up now. So try to just do your normal opening, and let's do that. Hey, let's just get out a Cyclone and a Viking to help our defense. Put the Widow Mine out on the map somewhere. Hopefully an Oracle runs into it. If it doesn't matter. Marines in the natural. And then just go straight, second and third barracks and build up to a biotank medevac push.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's give it a go.
All right, he's ready. Let's do it. Good luck, have fun. So I'm going to mute myself. I might speak up very briefly, but I'm probably just not going to, because you can read the notes afterwards. And this way I can just kind of watch your habits and kind of get my eyes into the mindset. I can also take a back seat and think about some shit, which I've probably forgotten to mention that's important. So good luck, have fun, mate. Kick some ass.
Thanks, mate.
Oh, right. Good shit. I feel like we've talked about a lot of things today, but I kind of like what we did. We did something new right at the start. I was like, rather than ranting about, ooh, I see what the problems are, I was like, here's my first impressions from what you've written down and watching a few minutes of a replay. I think we're probably going to deal with attack timings not being well defined, us being a bit too reactive, and because of that, not having any sharp pointed attacks where we take control of the game. Lo and behold, that replay continued. It was absolutely what happened. Often I see it at the very start of the replay, and just through reading the notes, I already know what the issue is going to be. Some people say it's because I'm a god. I say minor deity when it comes to coaching at the best. Minor. Don't worry, guys. I'm not cocky or arrogant. I am just a little self-obsessed and self-indulgent. That's all. 3 Hellion build gas first? No, it's like a normal mine drop build. He's not doing that Hellion drop build. He's doing his normal opening. The 3 Hellion build is literally the exact stock standard, just barracks gas, SCV scout. It's just the most normal mine drop build. It's just instead of going for the mine drop, you put your Marines in the medevac and fly it to the main, and you run your Hellions and your Reaper in the natural at the same time. That's all. So what I like about it is I was doing a mine drop, and all I did was say, let's build Hellions instead of mines. They're 25 minerals more, 25 gas less, so it barely affects the build at all. Like, you're like, oh, you're spending 75 minerals over a minute and a half, like, more, and saving 75 gas. It changes almost nothing in the build order. That's why I liked it. That's why I liked it so much. Can you make a system, like in the Pilot Show, where people can ask questions for the Pig Show? Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I guess I would attach it to the Patreon, probably. Probably be the best way to do that. You'd like to ask Cyril how the weather is and stuff? Yeah, I do. To be honest, as much as that sounds appealing because I like money and it would allow me to monetize the show more, I actually really enjoy the show being kind of what it is. And I've kind of done a lot in all of my content of let's try and create good content and then hope people think it's worth giving me money. I don't think it's the smartest way of monetizing, but it does allow me to be more focused on creating the content, which is actually really nice for me. That factory SCV is not rallied. He's quite good mechanically. He's got a lot of things he does very well, guys. So let's write some notes. So
Add-on complete.
he did build that starport straight away this time. Did he scout the Stargate? I'm gonna tell him. Alright, so let's just imagine we scouted the Stargate with our Reaper. Good luck.
Okay.
Alright, so we didn't build a bunker this game. Oh no, run SCV!
Command center upgrade complete.
So he's Viking, Cyclone. Yeah, he's good. And he's like, ah, shit, the Stalker's screwing with my Marine. So he's going to put the Widow Mine in the main. That's fair enough. I think at the natural would have been better, though. I mean, this is just classic skip the bunker, right? Now, obviously, this is not a normal opening from Muffin Man because he doesn't know how to go Stargate. So he still chronoed Stalkers because that's just what he knows how to do. And then went like the latest Oracle of all time. So it's not really a Stargate opening here. It's not exactly what we wanted, but not everyone can flexibly play other players. There's things they do on a subconscious level, right?
Ready for dust off.
This better be good.
That's cool.
SCV ready. Can't hold him alone.
All right, that's cool. He's not used to doing Oracle, so he's done this derpily. Let's just tap out and let's restart. That's fine. I mean, honestly, our lesson was just the bunker, right? So,
Okay.
What's your normal time for the bunker?
So if I scout the Cyber Core before Gateway, I rally my depot building, my second depot building SCV to build the bunker. And after that, it's usually after I build like 2 more Marines.
It's after you start 2 Marines off the reactor, is it? Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's a little late, right, on one of these small maps for 100% safety. We can get away with it sometimes. You just got to kind of stay on your high ground and not let him start bleeding you out early, right? In this game, you could have got the Widow Mine at the front of the natural. So if there are Stalker pressure or anything, I mean, I think we can keep that bunker timing to make sure the build's smooth because we're not going to get punished that much. If people are running Stalkers across every game and being in our face, we can be safer, right? We can change our build order a little bit. But he says, do Protoss not build from the gateway constantly? I feel like not doing that would lose to early pressure. He lost the Reaper, so anyone would run Stalkers across, I would think. Yeah, your Stargate was super late. You're meant to go to delay Warp Gate and go some Adepts usually to get it faster. No, it's fine. It's fine. You can Stalker pressure, but yeah, your Stargate was very slow. That's fine. But if he does that, I mean, if we got the mine at the front, that would have stabilized you because it would have bought you time to get up like 5 Marines and get your Cyclone started because he wouldn't have been in your face, right? So if you just put the mine at the front, you should be fine. Obviously, it's a bit weird because you're like, oh shit, there's a Stalker here. I need to cover my main. But his Stargate was actually really late. So it's totally fine if he does the exact same build. Let's very quickly hop in and get you guys started on another game.
Okay.
We do have to finish up though. So what I'm going to do is I'll get you guys ready here to go. I'll actually make you the... No, it's fine. 1 minute. Okay, so we've got to finish up. So I will start the game quickly and let you guys play. But before that, I just want to say, okay, so the main goal here is take what you've got here with push timings to your other matchups as well. You know, take that lesson. Defining that attack and push timing is going to be huge. So even if you're not playing against Stargate, say we're playing against a robo opening or anything else, I want you to just define that push timing a bit more. You know, like the one I always had mapped out the most out of any was 3 racks, right? I was doing 3 racks TvP for a while, like a year ago. There's always stim, +1 attack shields would finish, and I'd hit with like 2 Marauders and 20 Marines on the natural, right? And I would always commit to that timing until I got really good at it and I could do it in my sleep while macroing behind it. And then I started to recognize the tells that were, oh, he's ready for the push if I see this and this. Therefore, in that situation, I just go deny, cancel their third and then pull back and don't overcommit. And then I would know the next wave was also super well defined. It was when I get, I think it was 2 medevacs. I would build 2 liberators after 2 or 4 medevacs. Basically, it would be 2 liberators would roll up. And I'd have 6 Widow Mines as well at that point with all that bio. And that would be a really good kill timing. So sometimes I'd kill with the first time and just get way ahead or even win the game. Sometimes I'd win with that second timing. Other times I'd go all the way up to the third one, which was Fusion Core, second starport. This is back when you needed a tech lab on the starport as well. And it would be, okay, once I get to 6 libs with range and rallying more out, so I'll have more joining, I start my push. And the way I do that is I would have a double drop, go out, unload somewhere in a corner, run in and try to just attack a 4th base or something, pull your opponent out of position and stress them a bit with maybe that and like a mine drop somewhere else, and use that distraction to get my army across the map, because bio lib is really slow and shitty and it's siege focused. So if they intercept you moving out, you get stuck, you can't push them. So I'd have this like whole setup where it's like at this unit count, I set up this double drop, that pulls them out of position and allows me to push the other side of the map away from where the drop is distracting them, get sieged up and force a fight. So I'd have this all very organized and defined, and I'd have the exact buildings that would come down. And that's really what would allow me to control the matchup and feel comfortable in it. So I kind of want you to have at least one really important timing attack that you really well define. And you say at this point, this unit count, so that we can kind of make ourselves an expert at that as the baseline thing we're aiming for. And then the layers of reaction, adjusting, changing to Widow Mines because it's Mass Zealot, or tanks and then into Vikings because it's Colossus. You know, these adjustments can come later, but when you're first starting it, have a baseline unit that you prefer as your default. We're talking about tanks with your bio push, right? Just you're comfortable with that? Sweet. And then we can learn the reactions later. And I really think this is something we want to kind of take as a focus to everything, which is we want to have more well-defined baseline builds, not just the opening, but the mid-game. We want to have more of a path that we prefer to go down if we don't know exactly what's going on. Sometimes our scouting's denied. What is our most confident and general game plan, right? What are our most defined timing attacks? Yeah.
It sounds like big picture is mostly have a defined timing attack. Even if it's, not a 2 base all in, it's knowing what times I'm going to hit and with what.
Exactly.
Just consistently every time.
Hells yes.
Instead of just deciding, I get 5 racks at this point, just focus on the time attacks.
Sure. I mean, have the buildings as well. It's very important to have, do I go second factory or do I go second starport and fusion core? What's my default in a matchup, right? Do I go drilling floors or tanks by default? But it's always
in service to attack rather than just like have production.
Exactly. Sure. So you're using it to do that, and there's going to be that push and shove where you're benchmarking your attacks, and you're realizing sometimes you need to change your build because you just never have your Widow Mines ready for the mass charge lot, or you need to have this attack hit faster, and you go back and realize, wait, why am I rushing my 3rd command center? Looking at my replays, If I was 30 seconds faster, I'd be there before that second Colossus and Colossus range is hitting, but I'm always hitting just after that, and 6 gateways finish, and they're warping around to charge lots, and I get fucking ruined, you know? You realize suddenly when you're committing to these attacks, how shaving off 20 or 30 seconds is usually the difference between winning or losing a game, you know? So that's really awesome. It's also empowering because it means, hey, we can just work on our build, work on our refinement of our execution, and it will lead us to victory outside of all the crazy shit that our opponent can throw at us in a game.
All right. Yeah. So that's a lot for me to chew on. I'll sit on that, and I mean, I won't take up any more of your time today, and hopefully I can work on some of that, and we can schedule in the next session.
Yeah, no, see how it goes. There's obviously infinitely more to talk about, but this is good because we've gone big picture to start, and then we can go more focused on the little picture. Little, you know, watch a replay, look at the fine-tune thing. What fucked you up in a replay, what threw you off, what went well. And that'll be great. Awesome, man. All right, he's ready to go, so I'm going to start you guys off as I say goodbye.
Hey, thanks, man.
Good luck in the practice sesh. Hopefully you guys can play some more at each other to friends, and good night.